Poundstone, and welcome to Screen Time, where I talk about live action shows and movies. And today I'm going to be talking about a movie called Valerie and Her Week of Wonders. I tried really hard to try to find something white for the video, but I didn't, so I'm dressed up like I live in an enchanted forest. I discovered this movie through a YouTube video by somebody named Final Girl Studios. The video was labeled The Death of Girlhood, and I clicked on it thinking it was going to be just about girlhood in general and how there's no tween spaces anymore like Justice or Claire's, and how girls are going from 9 to 19 and skipping the ugly phase, as it's so called, or the awkward stage. But instead, I clicked on it and ended up watching an almost hour-long video about a movie I've never heard of. But after watching the video, I really wanted to watch the movie for myself and give my own take on it. So the first thing I found out about this movie is it's not in English. I don't know what language it's in, but it had subtitles, so I was able to watch it and know what's going on. So the movie starts off with Valerie, our main character, sleeping wearing pearl earrings before, whoa, an ad. Okay. Sleeping, she's wearing little pearl earrings, and then a thief comes along and steals them. And already we got some visual storytelling. Pearls are a gem from the sea used to represent love, purity, wisdom, and innocence. In the next scene, we see Valerie swimming and wearing a white dress, a color usually associated with purity and innocence, much like the pearls. And the thief gives her her pearls back, which odd, but okay. Well, at least that's what I thought when I first saw it. The thief gives her her pearls back, and Valerie, when she's walking into the house, she's walking past a bunch of little white flowers, and we see some red liquid dripping on them. Valerie sees the red liquid and checks herself, seeing it's coming from herself. She checks herself, seeing it's coming from her, and then the theme of the movie is now set. This is a movie about girlhood, changes, and growing up. Valerie runs to her room. Valerie goes to her room, which is completely white. The walls, the floor, the furniture, the dress she's wearing, it's all white. I assume this is to further, drive in the whole purity, innocent, sweet, young theme we have going on, or that the color represents. She falls asleep and dreams about girls also wearing white dresses, playing together and swimming in what appears to be either a pond or a lake. Valerie sees them, but she doesn't join them. I lost my place. She sees them, but she doesn't join them. She's nervous, covering her chest with her hands. She could be doing this because she's nervous about her chest, or she could be excited seeing how the other girls are swimming do appear to be older than her, therefore have chest, and she's excited to get hers, I guess. The next day, Valerie tells her grandmother she's no longer a child, kind of hinting at what is going on with her. The grandmother warns her to get rid of the pearl earrings, but before she could say why, they're interrupted by a loud noise coming outside the window. It sounds like a marching band. Valerie goes to check it out, and it's a wedding for a lady named Havitchka. Poor Havitchka, Valerie says, looking down. Looking down at Havitchka, we see her. She looks solemn, sad, no emotion in her face. Why, her grandmother says, she'll be rich as a farmer's wife. Now we know why Havitchka is sad. She was married for money, not for love. Who knows if she even had a choice? Watching everybody run around celebrating the wedding, Valerie spots a monster in the crowd. Yeah, it looks up at her and smiles before turning into a man. The grandmother then comes over to Valerie saying it's time for church. We cut to another scene. We see the nuns. They're all lined up in a row following the pastor on their way to church. On their way, they pass a couple, a lady in a white dress and a man happily having some happy bedroom time out there in the open in front of everyone for all to see. The pastor shields the youngest nun's eyes. Shields the youngest nun's eyes as the rest look over at the couple in disgust. Some of them are even doing their little head, shoulders, knees, and toes thing that nuns do before uttering a prayer. We then see Valerie. She sees the happy couple, but she doesn't look disgusted like she's supposed to, according to the other nuns. She only sees how happy the lady is. At church, Valerie is the only one not dressed up in white. Instead, she's wearing a dark gray, and I looked up what the color black symbolizes and what the color gray symbolizes or represents, because at first I thought she was dressed in black before then I saw that it was just a really dark gray. So the color black symbolizes power, mourning, evil, balance, and immortality, while gray represents neutral, wisdom, humility, mourning, and repent. I'm pretty sure Valerie is wearing gray, probably to represent how she doesn't feel like a child anymore, since we see her with a bunch of like little kids and they're all dressed in white. But she can't wear black yet like a nun because she's not an adult yet, so she's wearing gray, a mix between white and black. That was my first theory, but then the more I thought about it, the more I thought that because both the color meant mourning, maybe she's mourning her childhood, maybe? Yeah, she could be mourning the loss of her childhood because when you start your first, red waterfall, you're told, oh, you're a woman now, you're a beautiful flower, you're no longer a child. And how did she tell her grandmother that she started? She said, Grandma, I'm no longer a child. So she could be mourning her childhood. She's no longer a child. So, not the pastor, but a cloaked figure is giving a speech to all the little girls and nuns, referring to them all as maidens and how they're so young, so sweet, so soft, and don't act like that harlot outside. He tells them to always remain virgins, sweet, lovely little virgins, and how if anyone even touches them, even if it's just a kiss on the lips, they're going down to the underworld to burn for all eternity because it's their fault. And they won't be given a chance to even live at the cloudlands in the sky with everyone else. We see the cloaked figure is the monster Valerie saw at the wedding earlier. Once he's done giving his speech, Valerie looks up from her pray hands, a single tear rolling down her face. After church, Valerie leaves and sees the man who stole and gave back her earrings. All chained up by the water fountain, she unchains him. And he tries to kiss her, but she backs up and says, "Not at the town square, not in front of everyone." But then and this is where the movie gets weird. I don't know what this is, if this is visual storytelling, but a group of shirtless men come up running to the fountain. The thief, who we learn his name is Eagle, he's up on the statue, and they're like whipping the water until he comes down, and he eventually comes down and runs into a building and slams the door shut. I have no idea what this represents, if it's supposed to represent anything. The cloaked monster finds and takes Valerie to his dungeon and makes her look through a peephole. Valerie sees her own grandmother begging the pastor to love her. Then Eagle, the pearl thief, comes in and takes Valerie away. They hide in a chicken house. They hide in the chicken house and they look out to see the grandmother running out of her house to a man named Richard. You don't see his face, but he's all dressed in black, and she begs him to love her again. He comments about how old she is and said, "Give me your house and I shall make you young and beautiful." Before Eagle leaves, he gives Valerie a pearl, and then we then go to a dinner scene with Valerie, her grandmother, the priest, and I assume the rest of the priest's family, because there are other people there. During the family dinner, the first and only thing Valerie eats is an apple. Remember that, there will be a test. Later that night, the priest sneaks into Valerie's room. He talks about how beautiful she is and how mature she's getting, while slowly inching closer to her. She tells him, "Go away, get out of here." He doesn't listen. The priest throws himself onto Valerie yelling, screaming, and pushing him away. The priest grabs her by the face and forces a kiss upon her. He then drops her to the ground. "What have you done to me?" "What have you done?" he says, and runs out of her room. We then cut to the grandmother. She's made a deal with the monster. Her house is now the monster's house. Another ad. Okay. Your house doesn't belong to her anymore. It is now the monster's house. We then get some visual symbolism. We see red wine knocked over onto a table, soaking through the white tablecloth. This is obvious visual storytelling for something that I cannot say. But whose table is this? It's not Valerie's, and it's not her grandmother. We pan out to see Havitchka. We see her and her new husband are at a table. She's still in her wedding clothes. We see the desk. The guests have all gone. The table's a mess. There's tipped over cups. There's crumbs everywhere. There's fish bones, chicken bones. There's leftover food on certain plates. The chairs aren't even pushed in. Havitchka begins crying. Her now husband tells her, "It's time," and starts kissing her. The monster and grandmother appear out of nowhere. The grandmother sneaks up behind Havitchka and bites her like a vampire. Something changes in Havitchka. She's no longer sad and crying, sad about the situation that she was forced into. He says, "I love you," to the crusty old man who's her now husband, who's old enough to be her grandfather. Probably. They kiss. But why would the grandmother do this? This movie is full of visual storytelling, and if you were listening to anything I said, you're probably... I thought an ad was coming up. You're probably very, very, very confused. And what you just watched was girlhood. You watched the maiden, the mother, the harlot, and the crone, all represented by the main characters, or some of the characters I just told you about. When you grow up, hang on. The maiden, the mother, the harlot, and the crone. You grow up throughout the movie. Up until this point. Okay, sorry, I lost my place. You grow up during the movie up until this point. When you are born a woman or someone who is forced to grow up as a woman, you are born as the maiden. The maiden is represented by Valerie. We meet Valerie first. We see her, she's all dressed in white. Her room is white. The pearl earrings. All of this is used to represent purity, innocence, naivety. You get the point. You know, hope, new beginnings. She's young. She represents the maiden. When you are the maiden, you are taught when you grow up, you're going to get married one day. You need to learn to cook, to clean, to sew, maybe. You must be a good mother. You must have children. You must get married and have children. When you are the maiden, all the adults in your life point you towards the path of the mother. And basically make you feel like you have no other choice. Yeah. And then the mother is represented by Havitchka. We don't see Havitchka very much, I think we've only seen her twice so far. But we know she was once a maiden, like Valerie, A maiden who did what she was told. She got married to who she was told to marry. So she's happy. No? She grew up being told if you marry you'll be happy. This is the fate of a lot of people who choose the path of the mother. They get married, they have kids because they're told you have to. It's your job as a woman. Sit there and reproduce and then take care of those reproductions. And some women do it, some women are happy, some do realize they've made a mistake, but can't go an ad. Anyway, but what if I told you didn't have to choose that life? Yes, all the adults in your life may have chosen that path and want to force you down that path, but you don't have to. There is another secret path that you can take. I'm talking about the path of the harlot, which is represented by the actual harlot that was outside the church. The ones that the nuns walked by, looking disgusted, praying for her downfall. But the harlot didn't care. She was smiling. She was laughing. She was having a good time with her boyfriend. She didn't care who stared. She's wild. She's free. She doesn't... You can persuade her to try to take the path of the mother and to change her ways. She's not going to. She's happy. She doesn't care what those nuns being disgusted with her. She doesn't care what they think. The only opinions that matter to her are her own. And in the end, it really doesn't matter which path you take. The mother, the harlot. We're all going to end up as the crone anyway. Anyway, your final stage in life, the crone. Represented by Valerie's grandmother. She's old. She begs the priest to love her. He doesn't because she's old. She begs the mysterious Richard man to love her like he did when she was young. He doesn't. Why? She's old. She wants to be young and beautiful again. She will do anything for it. Nobody wants to be the crone, and once you realize you are the crone, you spend the rest of your life wishing you weren't. You spend the rest of your life trying to look younger, trying to act younger. Do anything and everything that you can do to get your youth back. Once you reach crone age, you're pretty much discarded by society. You get your first gray hair, it's done. Your first wrinkle, you're done. You're no longer beautiful. As soon as you turn 30, you're pretty much done. That's it. Goodbye. You're now grandmother aged. Get out of here. Ew. Once you reach the status of crone age, which can vary, some people say 30, some people say 40, some people say 50. Once you reach crone status, according to society, you'll be told that nobody wants you, you're old. And this makes people, mostly women, fear becoming old. They fear becoming the crone. That's why there's all these anti-aging stuff everywhere. That's why pretty much everyone below the age of 30 is lying about their age. They cut their hair, they dye their hair, they pile on makeup to try to make themselves look younger because they don't want to be old, they don't want to be the crone. They panic. Nobody wants to be the crone. Society says being old is bad, being old is ugly. You don't want to be old. This puts everybody in a frenzy, trying to look as young as possible for as long as possible. This is why Valerie's grandmother is doing anything and everything to look young again, even going as far as to selling her house. Terrified of what she just saw, Valerie runs away. She runs away to a nearby river where Eagle is once again tied up in the river. She unties him. Valerie takes them to her house, and we see a younger granny. She sees Valerie and lies and says she's her second cousin and that her grandmother just left. The grandmother tries to bite Valerie like a vampire to steal her youth, but Valerie manages to get away. She runs into her room and locks the door. Valerie's room is no longer pure white. There is some color here and there now. Valerie falls asleep. Young Granny somehow gets in there despite Valerie locking the door. And Valerie is mad. I have to mute it and then wait for the ad to be skippable before I can continue, because I'm worried if an ad shows up in my background music, the video will get taken down. So, I do apologize. I did not realize there would be this many ads in the background music. Yeah. Valerie wakes up in a weird place. Sees through a crack in the wall. Yeah, she's in a weird place. I can't tell what room this is. There's a bunch of cobwebs everywhere, and there's all these gears everywhere. I have no idea what it is, but she doesn't stay in there very long. She peeks through a crack in the wall and sees young Granny and Eagle. Young Granny says she will take him to see Valerie, but only if they have happy bedroom time. Eagle refuses and ends up finding and saving Valerie himself. Valerie runs off, then makes the decision to go to the monster's dungeon. There she sees the monster and a semi-young Granny. Her white hair is starting to come back, but it's not as bad as it was in the beginning. The monster reveals he's Valerie's father, and that the only way she can save them both. He is Valerie's father, and that only Valerie can save them both. There we go. Once semi-young Grandma leaves, Valerie sneaks down to the monster, now believing him to be her father. He tricks her into kissing him. Valerie... Okay. Sorry, autocorrect messed up what I was gonna say, and now I can't figure out what it was supposed to be. Yes, yeah, I remember. Sorry. Valerie faints. The monster picks her up and places her in a nearby coffin. The coffin is full of apples. More apple imagery. Remember the apple imagery. In a coffin nearby Valerie's is the priest from earlier. Valerie wakes up a little while later. A little while later, Valerie wakes up. So does the priest. Valerie was first. The priest wakes up, he looks around, scared of the dungeon. Scared of the dungeon surroundings, looks over at Valerie and asks her to help him. She's now sitting, propped up on her casket, eating an apple. Yeah, munching on one of the apples. Don't worry, you're not passed away, she says, munching away. Neither am I. The reason why the apple imagery is so important is because apples in Christianity are used to represent the forbidden fruit of knowledge. You know, the fruit that you're not supposed to eat. And what has Valerie been eating this whole time? Throughout the movie, not only do you... Hang on. It's used to represent the forbidden fruit of knowledge. Yeah, throughout the movie, not only do you see girlhood and growing up, there's also a lot of Adam and Eve imagery. Or should I say, Adam, Lilith, and Eve imagery. Yeah, Adam, Lilith, and Eve imagery. And I will brief over the story for those of you who haven't heard the story of Adam, Lilith, and Eve, because I know most churches kind of kick Lilith out, and I will explain why. But anyway, Eve wasn't Adam's first wife. It was actually Lilith. They were both made out of the same dust. Because of this, Lilith wanted equality. We are both made from the same dust at the same time. At the same time, at the same day, why don't we get treated the same? Okay. Why don't we get treated the same? I want to be treated the same as you. That's what said Lilith. But Adam did his, no, I'm big, strong man. Do as I say. Cook, clean, have babies. You know, Adam did the whole man thing. Lilith refused. And some people say she was banished from the garden for refusing. The story, well, yeah. Some people say she was banished for refusing, while others say she ran away and left the garden purposefully because she didn't want to be around Adam. Obviously, I think it's the second one. It makes the most sense. Anyway, she's gone, and Adam got a new wife, a woman named Eve, who was made from dirt and Adam's rib. And because Eve came from Adam, his rib, when she was told to be subservient and populate the earth and to be the mother of humans, she listened. Lilith, who left the garden, eventually met Lucifer, and they got married, and she became the mother of demons. Upset by what happened, and this is where the story gets divided again, some people say Lilith was the one who sent the snake in, while others said it was Lucifer who sent the snake in to get revenge for his wife because he felt bad. And then you have some stories saying Lilith is the serpent, and then you have some stories saying Lucifer is the serpent. Anyway, all we know is there's a snake in a garden now. Yeah, anyway, there's a snake in the garden. That's the most important part. And it tricks Eve into eating the forbidden fruit of knowledge, which is usually symbolized by an apple. Eve then tricks Adam, and look at that, they're both banished out of the garden. Now, how does this story tie in with girlhood? Yeah, how does this little Adam, Lilith, and Eve story tie into the themes of girlhood, the maiden, the mother, the harlot, the crone that I was talking about earlier? Well, it's simple. Eve is seen as the mother of all humans. When you were a young maiden going to church, you were told, be like Eve, get a man, get married, cook, clean, reproduce, be the mother of a human. The church doesn't want you to become a Lilith. He wants equality and respect. This is why most Christians say Lilith is the harlot. Do not be like Lilith. Lilith bad. Lilith evil. I'll pick new background music for next video, I promise. Yeah. Why Christians say, don't be a Lilith. Lilith is a harlot. Lilith bad. You don't want to be a Lilith. You'll pass away old and alone, an old crone, because no man likes a Lilith. Most churches actually cut out Lilith altogether, and in the past 100 years, actually, Lilith has pretty much all have been forgotten. They cut her out to make the maidens feel like they don't have a choice but to be the mother. Valerie helps the pastor find a way out, and once they're out, sinner, he yells. He yells at Valerie, you tempted me. Like he wasn't the one that snuck into the room. Eagle then leaves, leaving Valerie nothing but a note. Valerie reads the note and starts crying. Havichka sees this. Havichka sees Valerie, and then they spend the night together. They even share a kiss. In town square, the priest has rounded up all the townsfolk and nuns, talking about how Valerie's a witch, and that she tempted him, and she's a sinner. She must be burned as a stake. He points at her out of the crowd. The crowd grabs her and ties her to the stake. Ties her to the stake. Confess that you're a witch, the priest says. The preacher yells. Only for Valerie to stick her tongue out at him. Repent for what you've done, he yells, only for her to make fun of his hairy little beard and mustache. Okay. Everyone watches. Everyone watches as the hay underneath Valerie's feet starts to burn. Valerie then remembers the pearl that Eagle gave her. She eats it, and everything goes white. The stake is now empty, just smoke and ash. Valerie wakes up on the side of a building outside of a door. She's in her white dress again. She opens it, and inside, there's a bunch of harlots. Valerie! They know her by name. They call her beautiful. They lead her through the very R-rated dungeon. The monster shows up. The harlots get excited. They called him Master. Valerie quickly grabs an apple and eats it until she can get the seeds. Valerie picks up an apple and eats it until she can get to the seed. She then scoops the seeds out and drops it into the monster's drink. The monster then drinks it. He then drinks it and then starts to melt like the Wicked Witch of the West. The other harlots surround the monster, wondering what's going on. They pick up his cloak to reveal a weasel underneath. And it's hard to tell because we see Valerie just leaving the little dungeon, and we hear the harlots like yelling and screaming. It's hard to tell if they're like running scared because like a weasel, just like a rat, or if they're like celebrating. I can't tell what kind of screams these are. I can't tell if they're scared squeals or happy little squeals. But anyway, Valerie sneaks out, she returns home and goes to bed. When she wakes up, everything is back to normal. Granny looks like herself again. I lost my spot. Everything goes back to normal. Granny looks like herself again, but wait, nope. Granny's now on her passing away bed. She tells Valerie the truth about her mother. Said her mother fell in love with a forester and had 2 children, and the granny's jealousy made the mother leave. Made the mother leave with 1 child while she kept the other being Valerie. Eagle returns, and him and Valerie run away together into the woods. Once in the woods, they get off their carriage, and there's a bunch of women in the woods, all dressed in white, playing, having fun, hanging out, kissing each other, having a picnic. Feeding each other grapes. It looks like a good time. They signal for Valerie to come over, come and play with them. Valerie looks at them and then looks the other way. In the other direction, she sees the monster and her mom kissing. Both try to signal Valerie to come towards them. This is obvious symbolism for what I just said. All the women running around having fun are the harlots, while the monster and her mother are the mother. They're saying, choose this path, choose that path. I think the very obvious symbolism is while the harlots or women in white dresses are running around playing with each other, they do pan to a couple holding a baby, like a mother, father, and baby, right next to 3 women in a sheep. I think this is like the most obvious symbolism of the path of the mother and the path of the harlot. I think this is a very obvious symbolism. They both try to signal Valerie to come towards them. She chooses the path of the other women, the path of the harlots, the path of Lilith. And that's the end of the movie. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you guys next time.